right, so little roadside chat here. We'll talk about contracts. Michael had wrote in and he was actually looking for where I did a whiteboard, kind of a quick rundown on how to do contracts. But I got some time here to just talk about contracts. So one of the things is anybody can write a contract. Any two people that get together can write a contract. It doesn't have to have all that legalese in it, and a lot of people are intimidated by contracts. But really, basically, all you need to do is state what you want to do, and of course, you want to make sure you cover everything, who pays for what, that sort of thing. But I would just relate it to like buying a car. We all, you understand there's a title for the car, and there's a lien holder if you borrow money from the bank to buy your car, and then of course there's just the title itself. It shows you have ownership, maybe with a mortgage or a lien holder, So same thing with a house. It's no more complicated, just like you go to the DMV to formalize and handle the transfer of title. You go to a title company. That's kind of the DMV of real estate, okay? So there's nothing to it. You're going to go to, instead of going to the DMV, you're going to go to the a title company, and they're going to handle that transfer of title for you. So when you write a contract, let's say you don't have a real estate agent that you're working with or whatever that found you the deal, because there's no reason to bring anybody into the deal, number one. Don't bring a lawyer into the deal. Don't bring a real estate agent into the deal. You're just bringing in more people that need to get a piece of the action, and potentially you could be complicating the deal for the person that's selling it to you, and then they bring in somebody since you brought in somebody, and next thing you know, your deal's screwed up and not going to happen. So what I do is always just try to keep it simple. I've written out contracts just on a plain piece of typed paper, and I actually think I've actually wrote one on a napkin once, or at least it served as our draft for what we wrote on a regular piece of paper. And some people don't like a handwritten contract, but it really doesn't matter. Thing is, if you got somebody there that you guys come to an agreement on buying something, don't waste any time. Just write, say, okay, let's write this out, and you just write buyer, Tom, seller, whoever, Joe, and property description, and then you say terms, whatever those terms are. Maybe you'll get them to carry a note, or maybe it'll just be a new bank loan. So you just, if it's a new bank loan, you just say cash in however many days it's going to take you to get that loan. And the reason I say write cash, because it is cash. It's cash to that person. So you can write it's a cash offer, and it doesn't have to mean that you're going to hand them cash. It just means that you're going to go get your loan, and that's how you're going to deliver it. Now, of course, the property's got to be available to be looked at. Of course, you're going to need to do that anyhow for yourself. What we call a feasibility study period, or just basically a look, as I casually call it. And so you write up that you're buying it for, let's just say, X amount of money. So you got to put the price down, and so you've got your buyer and seller named, and then you've got the property identified. And if there's a adjoining lot, you just make that note, and the address. Some people would like a legal description, but you don't have to have that. The bottom line is you want something that is enforceable in court, and as long as you have a decent description, it's enforceable by court. Because you're going to do whatever you got to do to jump through whatever hoops you're going to do to get the money to close this deal. So you want to make sure that you have a deal that's going to close. So you write that up, and then of course you get down to title. You can't buy anything without title insurance, or you shouldn't. And I have a first-hand event where, and it's funny, it's actually the first property I bought. That property that I bought when I was 19, that was owner financed, there was 4 different lien holders in there. And the person that sold it to me was actually the 5th. And so I bought it from that person, and he did what's called an all-inclusive trust deed, also called a wraparound. And usually these are not the best things to do, because when you take back a note, like if you're carrying a note, meaning somebody owes you money against a property that you either loaned the money on, or that maybe you used to own and you're financing, a lot of times you'll have what's called an alienation clause in there, which means this note is not assumable, and I may call it all due and payable if it's transferred to somebody else. Now, this wasn't so common, years and years ago. Just that wasn't even in there. Basically, you got a note, somebody can assume it, and they'll just take over the payments, and that's what it is. But those alienation clauses can spoil it. I know some people have made deals and just assumed notes that had these alienation clauses in them, and the note holder doesn't care. They're just like, hey, as long as you make your payments, I'm not going to worry about it. Or maybe they don't even know. They just know that the money's still coming in. So, but you are taking a chance when you wrap a note that has an alienation clause in it, or if you try to assume one that has an alienation clause, unless you get specifically in writing that it's agreed to. So, don't want to overcomplicate it, because this is really a simple thing. So, back to the contract. So you want title insurance because if there is an issue, maybe there's a lien on the property, you can make a deal and buy it. You buy it without title insurance, and then you go in there and you'll find out that some contractor's got a lien for $50,000 on it. And now, it's attached to the property that you own now. So he doesn't have to give up that lien. And you're going to have to, if you want to get rid of him, you're going to have to pay him off or come up with some sort of settlement and pay him some fraction of that amount. So anyhow, jumping back to that first property that I bought, it turned out, even though I made a payment to one person and I had one note holder, there was 4 other underlying notes that they were getting paid from me, and then they were paying those guys. Well, I don't know, 5-10 years later, when I refied the place and got a new first, because I wanted to borrow some money at a lower rate, or maybe I wanted to pull a little equity out of it and buy something else. I don't remember what the conditions were, but it basically, I went to, I think it was Wells Fargo. Yeah, Wells Fargo actually did that loan. Yeah, I think it was Wells Fargo. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So I get a new loan. They issued the check, and through title, they would pay off all the underlying liens. Well, what they did is they paid everybody that was inside the wrap except one. They missed one, but they paid that guy's money to one of the others. So it's like the guy that was in they had one of the 4 note holders didn't get paid, and one of the other ones got paid more than he was supposed to get. And so I get this thing all done. It's done. I've got it in my name. I'm making payments to the new bank that I have, and then all of a sudden, I get a foreclosure notice saying, hey, we're going to start foreclosure on you if you don't pay this $17,000 out. There was this note for $17,000. The guy never got paid. So I figured out what happened, and I called the guy that got overpaid the $17,000, and I said, hey, what's up, man? You got overpaid. I need you to give that money back. And he says, nah. He goes, I'm going to keep it. He goes, you got to talk to the title company. He goes, they're the ones who gave me this money. He goes, but I'm not giving it up. And he was right. So I'm calling the title company. I said, hey, this is what I've got title insurance for. And I can't remember. I'm not going to tell you who it was, because I don't remember specifically which title company it was, but it was a big one. And surprisingly, they just kept waiting, and maybe they're writing this guy letters telling him to give the money back. But the problem is that I was publicly listed in the newspaper as in foreclosure now, and that that there was a lien, and that I can't remember exactly where it was within the scheme of being foreclosed on, because I've never been foreclosed on, but it basically said I was given notice in the paper that in 30 days I'm going to lose my property unless I pay the $17,000. And so I wrote a letter to them, and I CC'd it to my bank, or not CC'd, what am I saying? There was no internet at the moment, at that time. But I wrote in, and I said, okay, I'm not going to say which title company. It's a title company. I almost slipped. I wrote the title company. I said, okay, because you guys aren't, doing what you were paid to do. And I copied this same copy, went to my bank and to a lawyer, or I made it look like a lawyer. Actually, I didn't send it to a lawyer. But I said, so I'm going to make arrangements. I'm paying the $17,000 to avoid foreclosure, and put a copy of the paper thing in there. And that night that I got that, I think I faxed it. I faxed this out. And that night, the title company, they snapped too. They went straight over and found the guy that had the lien on me, that was doing the foreclosure on me. They went to him that night, and with a notary, and they gave him a check for $17,000, and the notary got his signature signing off on it, and I was no longer in foreclosure. But it's funny because that's the only time that's ever happened to me, and that was the first property I ever bought. But of course, it was kind of, it was kind of a cluster. All these different notes wrapped in one. Of course, it was a good thing. But that's why you got to have title insurance. You got to have title insurance, and that's what it's for. So back to the contract. So when you've got your parties named that they're going to buy this thing, you've got the terms, the property, the description of the property. Of course, you get the title insurance. Title insurance costs money. Generally the seller will pay for it. But look, when you're buying like this, you just say, hey, we'll just split everything. I mean, if you're getting a good enough deal, you shouldn't be sweating the cost of a title insurance policy. It's never usually more than maybe 1% of the whole deal anyways, at the most. And so so you just either say I'll take care of it, or you say we'll split it, or if you can negotiate it where they're going to pay for it, that's fine too. But certainly always you make the deal contingent on a preliminary title report. And what that is they're saying, we've done a preliminary title report, everything's clear, here's a few things that exist, and that might be easements for the telephone lines and this sort of thing, which is all fine and good. And usually somebody will examine it, the lawyer that's in the title company will examine it, and he'll tell you if something's wrong or not, or that you should be concerned with. So or if they are concerned about it, they're saying, well, we're going to issue a title policy, but short of this little issue here we don't know about, we're not guaranteeing anything on this. That doesn't happen very often, but if it does, you just examine it and look at it. So you get your title, you get your agreement saying we're going to split the cost of these fees, and or one person's going to pay for a certain amount of them. You get that ironed out, and then you just sign that deal. And so you've got the time period of which this thing is going to close, and you've got your terms, if there's going to be terms such as somebody carrying or not, and then that's it. But number one is I always put and/or assigns. When I buy something, it's Tom and/or assigns. And I used to do it because there was a good chance I was just going to flip the property. Now I do it because sometimes I'm not 100% sure. I have about 15, 20 different entities that are basically they're companies that own property, and I don't always know which entity. I know as Tom, I'm going to buy this, and I get it tied up, but I don't know exactly what entity I'm going to hold it in. In fact, I'm staring at a building right now in front of me that I just pulled up that my kids own 64% of it. They actually own more of this property than I do. And so I never know exactly. And what entity is going to hold it. And so, but for you, if you're just getting started, you just go ahead and/or assigns, and if they say, well, why does it say and/or assign? And you say, you know what, I don't know if my dad's going to be my partner on this. I don't know if I'm going to put this in a family limited partnership with my family, or how I'm going to hold title. And it's common, it makes sense. And it's really, you just say, for the benefit of my kids, if you have kids, or whoever your heirs are, you just say, well, in the event of my death, I want to make sure it gets handed neatly, and that's usually will satisfy anybody. So that's it. But the and/or signs also, though, of course, allows you to put somebody in your place, and then you can go into assignment mode, where somebody might just say, here's $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. You assign the position to me. And a lot of times you may not get that money up front before the deal closes, but you make it, you might make it contingent on it closing. But if it's a good deal, you don't want to give up your rights to the deal unless you get some cash. So normally I would say, give me some money, and the balance, or we'll close it within escrow. But usually you're going to get a deposit from them anyways to cover your deposit. So anyways, that's it. And I guess I'll stop here, but I just wanted to give a quick chat on just some experience with title policies and writing a contract. So that's it. Flip anything. Please share. Please like all my videos. More likes, the more readability, the more people get in here, ask good questions, and that'll benefit us all. Thanks a lot. Bye.